It's much harder to stand out. When Einstein was interested in physics in Switzerland in the around 1900, 1905, how many professors of physics were there in Switzerland? There were about 4. I think in Germany there were maybe a few dozen. Now there's thousands and thousands and thousands. It's much harder to stand out. There's an essay I highly recommend to everybody by Stephen Jay Gould, the late biologist from Harvard, on the decline of the 400 hitter. For those who haven't suffered watching the Chicago Cubs in American baseball, a quick footnote, if you hit the ball roughly, accurately, 40% of the time in baseball, you're called a 400 hitter. Hit it accurately 30% of the time, or successfully, you're called a 300 hitter, et cetera. In the early 20th century, there were a lot of baseball hitters who were able to have an average at 400 or above, 40% or above. Since then, no one has. Why? I won't, no show of hands, but maybe just think about it for a moment, then I'll explain. Until the 1940s, there were a number of people who were able to do that. Since then, no one.
The pitches are getting better.
Now the interesting question, that's a suggestion. Why would the pitchers be getting better and not the batsmen? Because your pitchers are taller, they work out better, more muscly and stuff, sometimes even without steroids. But if you think about it, the batter should sort of match it. Why should players in one position do better than another? It turns out it ties in, I could elaborate this, but Gould does it really, really nicely. And it ties in with your question about what makes Einstein stand out. In the 1920s or the 1930s, the New York Yankees were a great baseball team. This hurts somebody from Chicago to say, but let it be so. They were a great baseball team, and their best defensive players would make about 2 mistakes a year. They were really, really good. That's games of over 100 games a year. 2 mistakes in the year, that's really good. Nowadays, the best players also make about 2 mistakes a year, okay? Turns out in the 1920s, the worst teams, hello St. Louis, the players would make 50 or 60 mistakes a year. The New York team could go to St. Louis, or the Boston team could go to St. Louis and be like Premier League rugby against, a university team. There was just no competition. Today, the worst teams are really very good. Their defensive players might make 3 mistakes a year. Think of it as a standard distribution. The standard deviation is tighter.